Nuclear freeze, renewable surge, Korea's energy crossroads, September 12th. Authors and sources: Chosun Ilbo, Korea Economic Daily, Seoul Economic Daily, Hankyoreh, September 11 to 12, 2025. Official remarks by President Lee Jae-myung at the Blue House 100th Day Press Conference. Summary. On his 100th day in office, President Lee Jae-myung declared that new nuclear plants are virtually impossible, citing a 15-year timeline to completion and the absence of viable sites. He emphasized that Korea must instead expand solar and wind power massively, since these can be deployed within 1 to 2 years. The statement reverberated across Korea's industrial ecosystem. The nuclear sector, which had barely recovered from the Moon Jae-in administration's earlier phase-out shock, now fears a collapse once the Shin-Hanul 3 and 4 reactors are completed around 2032 to 2033. Mid-sized suppliers who invested heavily in new equipment and workforce warn of extinction. Critics argue that construction times can be closer to 8 to 10 years and that multiple candidate sites exist, making the president's claims overstated. Meanwhile, the government's own agencies are advancing SMR design work, contradicting the president's dismissal of the technology as undeveloped. BBIU opinion on Lee's energy stance. President Lee's position to halt new nuclear projects and pivot toward solar, wind, and LNG is less an energy strategy than a political survival mechanism. By stressing the 15 years argument and overplaying site scarcity, Lee secures short-term optics while dismantling Korea's only long-term card of autonomy. Key points. Narrative versus reality. Narrative. Nuclear is too slow, solar and wind are immediate. Reality. Korea's reactors historically reached completion in 8 to 10 years. Solar and wind add speed, but lack baseload stability. LNG fills the gap, creating dependence on U.S. supplies. Geopolitical trap. With nuclear dismantled, Korea locks itself into a dual dependency. LNG from the U.S. with a $100 billion commitment, and solar and wind hardware from China. This erodes strategic sovereignty and makes Seoul a tributary node between Washington and Beijing. Industrial consequences. Without domestic builds, the nuclear export industry collapses. No buyer will trust a supplier that abandons its own technology. The relocation of heavy industry to the U.S. reduces local demand, but also permanently degrades Korea's energy infrastructure. Once dismantled, industrial demand cannot return. Digital contradiction. Lee cites AI data centers as drivers of electricity demand, yet ignores that data centers require absolute stability. Solar and wind variability undermines this need, leaving LNG as the hidden baseload. In practice, Korea transitions from nuclear baseload to gas baseload, with higher volatility and no autonomy. Political calculus. Nuclear projects would complete beyond Lee's mandate, benefiting his successor. Solar, wind, and LNG show results within 1 to 3 years, securing short-term political dividends. This decision aligns with Chaebol trajectories: batteries, LNG logistics, and overseas plants, but sacrifices national autonomy. BBIU conclusion. Lee's green pivot is not a national strategy but a political trade-off: immediate optics, geopolitical dependency, and structural erosion of sovereignty. For Korea, the long-term cost outweighs the short-term benefit. Nuclear is not optional, it is the last pillar of industrial and technological autonomy.
Welcome to the BioPharma Business Intelligence Unit, where symbolic integrity meets strategic clarity. At BBIU, we go beyond the headlines to decode the structural forces behind global biopharma, AI, and economic realignment. If you value precision, verification, and symbolic depth, this channel is for you. Subscribe now to access our weekly briefings, dossiers, and intelligence reports, and consider joining our institutional tier to unlock early warning systems, custom metrics, and exclusive strategic insight. You're not just listening, you're entering the future of epistemic intelligence. www.biopharmabusinessintelligenceunit.com